The Incredible Hulk is one of Marvel's most beloved and well-known superheroes. You can't think of the color green without thinking of this guy. He's had his own line of action figures, movies, and comic books, and still, decades later, he's still a mystery to fans. Bruce Banner has managed to keep all his Hulk powers a secret from us until today. Before we get started, take a moment to subscribe to our channel. It's like giving yourself a present.
You and me, we stay here on the ground. We keep the fighting here. And Hulk. Smash.
Leap across continents. We all know Hulk can smash. Did you know that Hulk can also jump enormous heights and distances? We've seen the Hulk jump far and wide in all forms of media, and yeah, his leaping skills are impressive, but they aren't earth-shattering. At least not unless you look at what the Hulk can do when he's really trying. The stuff that we've yet to see in a cartoon or movie. If you consider what the Hulk can really do in a single leap, then it's earth-shattering. Sometimes literally. With superpowered muscles all over his body, the Hulk can do all sorts of things that regular humans can only dream of. This includes his ability to casually travel miles in a single jump thanks to his leg muscles, which the Hulk often uses as his main method of transportation. When he's really trying, however, the Hulk can leap into Earth's atmosphere and even travel across oceans and land on different continents. Hulk never must worry about airline baggage fees or flight times, but he does have to worry about landing. With the enormity of his powers and body mass, the Hulk has been known to create earthquakes, shockwaves, and large craters when he comes back down to Earth after a particularly big jump.
And I will not be bullied by that.
He can see ghosts. What does the Incredible Hulk have in common with M. Night Shyamalan's The Sixth Sense? We'll give you a hint. The answer is not Bruce Willis. Drawing a blank? Well, in his Hulk form, Banner can see ghosts. Perhaps this is a power that the Hulk would never show off in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it's nonetheless an interesting one. It is a hidden power among all the curiosities of the Hulk comic books. It all started when Bruce Banner accidentally killed his father, and fearing that he would come back to settle the score, Bruce gave the Hulk the ability to see ghosts, because in the comics, that's just a thing you can do. And you don't need the type of Marvel Cinematic Universe logic that equates things like gods and ghosts with science and technology. With the Hulk's unique ghost-seeing ability, he's one of the only beings that can see Doctor Strange when he's in his astral form. That's something to keep in mind should ghosts end up on their way to the MCU courtesy of Doctor Strange. If that happens, look for the Hulk to take on a much bigger role in the metaphysical side of Marvel films going forward.
What if the world was safe? What if next time aliens roll up to the club, and they will, they couldn't get past the bouncer?
He can survive in space. In the MCU, audiences have just started to get used to superheroes in outer space thanks to the introduction of the Guardians of the Galaxy. In the comic books, Hulk has been visiting new planets for a while now. Hulk is one of the most indestructible beings on Earth, but what about outside of Earth? Since the Marvel Universe has always traditionally explored the galaxy, the Hulk has always had a big part in Marvel's space-spanning adventures, and he's aided by the fact that he can survive in space better than almost every other Avenger. Thanks to his ability to grow new tissue at exceptional rates and regenerate tissue, the human-killing void of space is no match for Hulk. And while in the comics, the Hulk has been launched into space in a pressurized vessel for safety, once the vessel broke, the Hulk just got angrier, and as a result he got stronger, thus causing his body to adapt into one that can survive anything space throws at it. Like his ability to withstand the pressures of underwater life, the Hulk can't be stopped just because he isn't in his natural habitat. In fact, it's safe to say that he has no natural habitat, which makes him one of the most unique superheroes that can decimate an enemy no matter where he is in the universe.
You saw?
The whole thing, right through the ceiling, big and green and buck-ass nude.
High intelligence. If you're a fan of the Incredible Hulk, then you know Bruce Banner shot on the scene as a scientist working on the Gamma Radiation Project. Joining the company of Tony Stark, Hank Pym, and Reed Richards, Bruce Banner is known as one of the greatest scientific minds on Earth, the foremost expert on gamma radiation, which is of course what led to his becoming the Hulk in the first place. Banner often rivals, if not exceeds, Tony Stark on matters of scientific theory and practice. He's developed new scientific methods and inventions, but he has famously been unable to control the Hulk no matter how hard he tries. But the best part of Bruce Banner's intelligence comes from the irony that it doesn't carry over when he becomes the Hulk. As soon as Banner gets angry and the Hulk takes over, his memories and intelligence are largely forgotten, and the Hulk becomes a destructive force with little guiding him, save for his animal instincts. For someone as intelligent and empathetic as Bruce Banner, seeing the destruction that the Hulk causes and being powerless to stop it is what makes him one of the most compelling characters in all the comics.
One of yours?
Oh my God. What have you done?
Create more Hulks. Every fan knows the trigger of Bruce Banner's transformation into the Incredible Hulk was a result of gamma radiation. Bruce's exposure to the rays fundamentally altered his DNA. Bruce's life was forever changed, and he carried inside him the potential for Hulkish transformation. A one-of-the-kind backstory, all his superpowers stemmed from his accident. It created a once-in-a-lifetime superhero. At least you'd think he was a once-in-a-lifetime superhero. Did you know that there are several Hulks floating around the Marvel Universe? As it turns out, the Hulk has another power that he wasn't aware of. Isn't it exciting when you discover something new about yourself? For Banner, he figured out that if he gives a blood transfusion, his blood can turn others that match his DNA into the Hulk. And this was exactly what happened with his cousin Jennifer Walters, who ended up becoming She-Hulk after an emergency blood transfusion. Although Jennifer retained most of her personality when becoming She-Hulk, including her intelligence and control, she too has the unique ability to become stronger the angrier she gets. And it's understandable that she would be angry after becoming only the second Hulk in history.
I'll rough out a tracking algorithm, basic cluster recognition. At least we could rule out a few places. You have somewhere for me to work?
Prolonged lifespan. Bruce Banner never seems to be having an enjoyable time with his powers as the Hulk. Can you imagine how hard it can be when you lose all sense of yourself and then crush a city block? Although Hulk may not care, Bruce Banner has a conscience and feels bad about the Hulk's actions. Add on top, Hulk has an extremely prolonged lifespan. The longer he lives, the more Hulk racks up damage and the worse Banner feels about it all. As if it wasn't enough, he's nearly indestructible. If he does have any major problems destroyed, he instantly regenerates. In addition to all that, he just has a tough time dying of natural causes at any age. Because of his gamma radiation acquired powers, the Hulk has gained a host of immunities that will help him survive long past his normal due date. With a known resistance to all Earth-based diseases, the Hulk can survive almost anything. As a result, it's tough to imagine a senior-age Hulk rolling around in a wheelchair or moving into a retirement home. Additionally, the Hulk's constant regeneration allows him to avoid fatigue altogether. So, midday naps won't be a weakness for the Hulk as he transitions gracefully into old age.
He told me what he wanted to do. He wants it out of me. He wants to dissect it so that he can replicate it. He wants to make it a weapon.
Healing abilities. The Hulk has exceptional regenerative capabilities. Like Wolverine and Deadpool and other Marvel comic book series, the Hulk is in that rare class of super beings who never has to worry about aging like the rest of us. The powers just keep on coming, and apparently, the creators of the Hulk weren't pleased with unlimited strength, superhuman speed, and unrivaled adaptability. In order to make the Hulk truly superpowered, they decided to give him one of the more useful powers that any hero can have: superhuman healing and regenerating abilities. The Hulk has ability to grow entirely new tissues and heal from most wounds in just seconds. Severe wounds as well, including the near complete destruction of his body mass, are also no match for the healing abilities of the Hulk. It's been said that the Hulk heals faster than anyone in the Marvel Universe.
I've seen her flirt. Up close. This ain't that. Look, as maybe the world's leading authority on waiting too long, don't.
Different colors are different powers. Comic book fans know that over time, Marvel has introduced a variety of Hulk colors. Fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe have only been introduced to the green version of Bruce Banner. What neither of these groups may be aware of, that these different colored Hulks all possess different powers. Example of this are the Grey Hulk, a version of the Hulk that is crafty, sneaky, and corrupt. Rather than turning into Grey Hulk when he's angry, Banner turned into Grey Hulk when the sun went down. This iteration of the Hulk moved to Vegas to become an enforcer at a casino. We can only imagine Hulk trying to roll the dice and not getting angry if he lost. Eventually going to therapy to control himself, Banner for a long time became both Green Hulk and Grey Hulk. This made for a version of the two where he wasn't necessarily a destructive force, but he was an angry beast that was also very smart. In addition to this pale green Hulk is the infamous Red Hulk, a beast who gets stronger depending on how much radiation he's exposed to. Because of this, rather than anger controlling him, radiation is what increases his abilities.
Look, we're not strolling into the park for a picnic here. Even if everything goes perfectly, if we induce an episode, if we get the dosage exactly right, is that going to be a lasting cure?
Resistance to mind control. We don't necessarily think anyone in the Marvel Universe, on screen or on page, is eager to get into the Hulk's mind. We can only imagine the kind of chaos swirling in that skull. Even if someone wanted to get in there, they couldn't. With every weapon of mass destruction comes fail-safes and a fail-safe for the fail-safe to ensure that the weapon doesn't fall under control of the wrong people. Considering that the Hulk is one of the most volatile and destructive weapons on the face of the planet, it's probably a good thing that he has resistance to mind control, because there wouldn't be many things worse than a Hulk controlled by the enemy. Theories for the Hulk's resistance to mind control manifesting as one of his powers include the fact that there are multiple personalities lurking inside of the Hulk's mind. Not only is there Bruce Banner and the Green Guy, but the other facets of the Hulks are always somewhere beneath the surface. As a result, it is said that no one, not even one with the superior mind control abilities such as Professor X, is able to control all of them at once, and thus they cannot control the Hulk.
He's not so bad. Well, he has a temper. Deep down, he's all fluff. Fact is, he's not like anybody I've ever known.
Superhuman speed. When you think of the Hulk, what powers come to mind? We're willing to bet the first thing you think of is Hulk's strength, and why wouldn't you? He can lift entire tanks and rip buildings out of the ground. You can't forget that. Like any giant creature found in nature, one would understandably assume that being big and indestructible has its trade-offs. It may be hard to fit into small showers. You may accidentally tear open the whole bag instead of just a corner, and you're slow. The first two may be true, but the third isn't. Not only can the Hulk destroy anything he wants, he can also absolutely demolish most superheroes in a race. Yeah, he's that fast. Although it's rare in the Marvel Cinematic Universe for the Hulk to be shown as lightning quick, in the comics, the Hulk's speed is one of his more amazing powers. Often shown outrunning a rocket blast and catching up to the world's fastest heroes, the Hulk's speed is an advantage to him purely because he's so unexpected. No one would expect a hero as giant and dim-witted as the Hulk to be a speed machine, so when he takes off at full blast, he can surprise and disarm nearly every enemy that he faces.
You want me to help you put Jarvis into this thing?
No, of course not. I want to help you put Jarvis in this thing. We're out of my field here.
The 1960s creative geniuses of Marvel Comics has granted us many joys. Two of the biggest ones being Mr. Stretchy Pants himself, the Incredible Hulk, and everyone's favorite masked menace, the Amazing Spider-Man.
Who are you?
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
While these two seem totally different on the surface, there's actually more in common between these heroes than you may think.
Oh, it's definitely the end times.
Before we compare these two comic titans, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join the notification squad. Pioneers. The 1960s was by far one of the most important decades for comic books, with perhaps only the 1940s and 1990s being in contention for most important. One of the reasons why the 60s was so huge is due to the explosion of brand new characters from Marvel Comics. Two of the most popular characters from that big bang are none other than the Incredible Hulk and the Amazing Spider-Man. Created just a mere 3 months apart from each other, the Incredible Hulk #1 hit newsstands on May 1st, 1962. Created by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee, the book combined two classic horror movie concepts into one great giant. Put Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Frankenstein into a blender and you get the Hulk.
Why don't we do this the easy way where you don't use that and the other guy doesn't make a mess?
While most heroes before him, like Superman and Batman, were pure forces of good, Hulk was more akin to a force of nature than anything else. Then, on August 10th, 1962, the cultural icon Spider-Man was born, courtesy of writer Stan Lee and artist Steve Ditko. Not a teenage sidekick, but his own superhero. Spider-Man brought teenage angst and reliability to the genre that was never seen before.
So you want to look out for the little guy, you want to do your part, make the world a better place, all that, right?
Yeah, just looking out for the little guy.
Trailblazers in their own ways, Spider-Man and the Hulk are groundbreakers in the comic book medium. Color confusion. Viewers, help us out over here. We're going to show you the original covers for both the Incredible Hulk #1 and Amazing Fantasy #15, the first appearances of the Hulk and Spider-Man. The kicker is you have to tell us what colors you see. We'll wait. Now, obviously upon inspection, they look a little different. Here's why. Hulk's case is easier to explain. Co-creator of the Hulk, Stan Lee, always intended for the Hulk to be gray. However, because of the color technology at the time of his creation in 1962, it was too hard to get the right shade of gray consistently. Thus, after the first appearance, he was made green. Spider-Man's original costume is thought to be red and blue, and that's only sort of true. If you were to look at the original issues as drawn by co-creator Steve Ditko, Spidey's suit is actually more red and black. Yes, he does have blue highlights in the black, but Ditko always had a little more sinister look to the Spider-Man's world in the original issues. This also helps the Daily Bugle's case as to why Spidey is a menace.
Who is Spider-Man? He's a criminal, that's who he is.
He sure looks like one. The end of heroes. Like we said previously, death in comics is about as common as a reboot. Some characters like Jean Grey and Professor X have died more times than you can shake a stick at. By comparison, the amount of times that Spider-Man and the Hulk have bit the dust is relatively low. Keep in mind that we're not including alternate universe tales here, because if that were the case, well, we'd have a lot more material. Sticking to Marvel 616, aka the main Marvel universe, Spider-Man has died, let's say 3 times. The first time was at the hands of a woman created by Thanos in the Infinity Gauntlet event. Next was when he got kissed by the Queen and died, then shortly afterwards gave birth to himself. We know. Yeah, don't ask.
Oh, it's definitely the end times.
Finally, we have that time where he died and grew a new body. Also, don't ask. Not to mention that whole mind-swapping thing with Doc Ock. Hulk, on the other hand, is much simpler to explain. Hawkeye took him out with an arrow while he was in Bruce Banner form during Civil War II. Well, that was easy. Sure, he was resurrected by the Hand as an undead Hulk, but does being a zombie really count?
I'm gonna guess that's not good.
Triple trouble. Superhero movies recasting actors is as common as reboots and killing off characters in the comics. Heck, look at how many Batmen there's been. Amazingly, if we were to look at the big screen adaptations of Spider-Man and the Hulk, there have been 3 actors for each hero. Let's start off with the Hulk. Bill Bixby's portrayal of Dr. Banner might be iconic for an entire generation, but the first actor to be in a film is Australian actor Eric Bana. While his movie wasn't well received, his performance as Bruce Banner was well received for showcasing the repressed anger that somebody like Banner would have. Edward Norton's portrayal was also good by taking what worked from Banner's portrayal, but also adding in more energy and desperation. Finally, we have Mark Ruffalo, who shows off Banner's more geeky side, but since he's never had a solo movie, it's harder to judge compared to his predecessors.
That's nice. It's a nice sentiment.
And what can be said about the Spider-Man actors, what that hasn't been said already? Tobey Maguire's version perfectly captured the classic nerdy, awkward Peter Parker that can be very emotional, while Andrew Garfield's more so played up Spider-Man's cool factor and smoothness under the mask. Each one has their strengths and weaknesses, and while the jury is still out on Tom Holland's Spider-Man, we won't have to wait much longer to find out.
So you want to look out for the little guy, you want to do your part, make the world a better place, all that, right?
Yeah, just looking out for the little guy.
Demonic interactions. Just because Spider-Man and the Hulk have saved the world from villains time and time again, that doesn't mean they're immune from dealing with demons of the highest evil. Both Spidey and the Hulk have had tussles with demons, but instead of fighting them, they both had, unique things to do with them. Let's get the more well-known one out of the way. In 2007, Spidey's Aunt May got shot in the chest by a sniper hired by the Kingpin. Desperate to save his aunt's life, he makes a deal with the devil of the Marvel Universe, Mephisto, to trade his marriage to Mary Jane for May's life. We're really resisting the urge to give that story the thrashing it deserves, because we have to talk about the Hulk smash of Umar the Unrelenting. In Defenders Volume 3, Number 3, the sister of Dormammu, called Umar, mind controls the Hulk. Instead of using him to break things, she instead chains him up and uses him as a toy. We'd say the Hulk had better demonic interaction. Wouldn't you say, Petey? Spider Smash. If anyone knows anything about the character, it's the fact that Dr. Bruce Banner can turn into a giant green monster at any time if he lets his rage get the best of him. What people may not know is that the fact that Spider-Man at one point also had this power. It may have only lasted for 1 issue, but in Web of Spider-Man number 70, comic readers had a chance to see 2 of Marvel's greatest characters get thrown into a blender with incredible results. The story starts with Peter recapping the last issue where he was zapped, and we're quoting here, with an electronic thingy. Peter rushes out of the Daily Bugle where he transforms into a Spider Hulk. And yes, he does say Spider Smash. After leaping away and passing out, Peter finds he was zapped by a machine of Rick Jones that contained bioenergy from the Hulk. Sure, that sounds about as comic booky enough to make sense. Peter eventually finds the device and is able to get rid of his Hulk powers, and we're glad he did. It wasn't like Spidey was gonna pull out any clever one-liners while in Hulk form. Popularity. With the success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, characters that were once B-listers in the Marvel Universe have been bumped up to A-list status, including Iron Man, Black Widow, and Thor. Prior to the MCU's explosion into the pop culture, there were 2 figures that stood head and shoulders above other Marvel characters in the mainstream, those being Spider-Man and the Incredible Hulk. The case for Spider-Man is easy to explain. Ever since the Wall Crawler's inception back in 1962, Spider has been Marvel's mascot and most popular character. Nobody coming close to knocking him him off his perch. In fact, based on a study done by the Licensing Letter magazine in 2013, the Spider-Man brand generated $1.3 billion for Disney that year, with the next closest brand being Batman at a mere $494 million. Who's rich now, Brucey? While the Hulk can't compare with that kind of numbers, if you were to ask people the name of some superheroes prior to the MCU, chances are they would say the Hulk. Much of that mainstream recognition has to do with CBS's Incredible Hulk television series. You know, the one that made that superstar out of Lou Ferrigno? Aside from the show, Hulk had been in numerous forms of media and was generally known by everyone. How do you ignore a giant green rage monster anyway? Lost love interests. Women in refrigerators is a long-running trope in comics that has been heavily criticized by many, including comics industry legend Gail Simone. Basically, it's a trope where women are taken out or generally have something horrible happen to them purely to motivate the male hero.
This is gonna end well.
As it turns out, both Spider-Man and Hulk writers are guilty of this trope. It could be argued, in fact, that the death of Gwen Stacy is the first ever victim of this trope. In Amazing Spider-Man 121, Gwen Stacy is captured by Spidey nemesis the Green Goblin and thrown off the bridge, only for Spider-Man to throw a web line in an attempt to save her. The grief and rage of the accident drives Peter to nearly off Norman Osborn, but he refrains at the last second. The death of Hulk love interest Betty Ross happened years later, was much more complex and not nearly as hard-hitting as Stacy's death. In this case, Hulk arch-villain the Abomination slipped some of his radioactive blood to Betty Ross, which slowly poisoned her until she passed away. Even Green Goblin hasn't thought of giving Mary Jane the Goblin serum.
Hello, my dear.
And he's done some messed up stuff to our wall crawler. Boom! Science. Sure, you can throw a rock in any direction inside comic book universes and you'll probably hit a scientist. That shouldn't discount the scientific acumens of Bruce Banner and Peter Parker, however. Growing up under the loving Uncle Ben and Aunt May, Parker's scientific genius was nurtured by his relatives since he was young. With his interests in various forms of science, including chemistry, physics, and biology, he's created numerous gadgets over the years, but his most impressive invention of all time is still his mechanical web shooters, which he somehow created as a poor teenager from Forest Hills. Now, on the other hand, Bruce Banner didn't quite have the parental figures that Parker had. While Bruce's mother Rebecca was a loving woman, Bruce's father Brian was a dirtbag who couldn't handle the idea of his wife loving someone other than him. In spite of a rough childhood, Banner became the world's leading mind on gamma radiation and a genius in several fields of science. Once Norman Osborn became the most powerful man on the planet as a result of Secret Invasion, it was unveiled that the Hulk was classified as the fourth smartest person on the planet. While Parker might not be in those talks of smartest person in the Marvel Universe, they are both geniuses nonetheless. Incredibly amazing writer. Peter Parker isn't the only Peter we're mentioning on this list. Parker and Banner may have radioactive powers, but they probably couldn't write a comic for beans. Luckily, that's where Peter David comes in. Both Spider-Man fans and Incredible Hulk fans should recognize Peter David as one of the best scribes to ever write both of these characters. In terms of his contributions to the Hulk, Peter David wrote the character for 10 years straight, from the late 80s to the late 90s. In the era of revolving door creative teams, that is a miracle. Under David's run, the Joe Fixit persona of the Hulk was created, and he delved deeper into the childhood trauma which transformed him into the giant known to millions. As for his run on the wall crawler, it wasn't quite as interrupted as Hulk run, but his contributions to the character are significant nonetheless. David is responsible for the acclaimed Death of Jean DeWolf, The Commuter Cometh, and Spider-Man 2099. Nowadays, he's at the helm of the controversial Ben Reilly The Scarlet Spider title. If anyone can make that story work, it's gotta be Peter David.
The Hulk is the strongest there is, or so he likes to think, and he has undoubtedly carried out some amazing feats of strength over the years. Whether it was acts of heavy lifting or the damage caused by his super strong punches, the big green guy is definitely hard to match in that department. In this video, we'll take you through some of the Hulk's most insane feats of strength. Enjoy! Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's the best way of keeping up to date with all of CBR's great new videos. Throwing a tank. Let's start with a couple of the Hulk's best feats of strength from the movies, and the first of which comes from the 2003 Hulk movie, in which Eric Bana portrayed the titular character. After the Hulk escaped from a military facility, the military pursued him into the California desert and a fight ensued. A lot of tanks were present, one of which in particular took the full force of the Hulk's raid. After flipping it onto its roof, the Hulk grabbed its cannon, spun it around a couple times, and then threw the massive thing several hundred meters into the desert's sandy hills.
So, this all seems horrible.
One punching a Leviathan. In 2012, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Mark Ruffalo's version of the Hulk pulled off an arguably more impressive feat of strength than that of Eric Bana's. As the Chitauri were invading Earth through a portal above New York City, their enormous Leviathans, known colloquially amongst fans as space whales, began to join the fight. When Iron Man enticed one into the path of the Avengers, Bruce Banner announced to Captain America that he was always angry, and proceeded to immediately transform into the Hulk, at which point he killed the gigantic armored beast with a single incredibly powerful punch.
Is that all you've got?
Punching through Abomination's face. In the comics, the Abomination is one of Hulk's most long-standing foes, and at his base level at least, he's every bit as strong and durable as the big green hero, if not more so before Hulk's rage takes him beyond that level. And that makes this feat incredibly impressive. After taking a beating at the hands of the evil brute, Hulk got angry when Abomination mentioned killing Betty Ross, and his response was to punch so hard that it went straight through the villain's ugly face.
Oh, that's funny. You're still so funny, Logan.
Moving the Blob. In this entry, the villainous Blob is said to be immovable, and the mutant is generally considered to be an X-Men villain. His immovability is achieved by the Blob altering his own personal monodirectional gravity field beneath himself, which is seen here in one of Marvel's fanfare comics. During this instance, the obese bad guy was boasting about his greatness, while the Hulk punched him so hard that he went flying backwards, something previously thought impossible. And equally as impressive, the Hulk had supposedly stopped the theoretically unstoppable Juggernaut at the very same time. But given that the Green Brute's power was amped by Apocalypse at the time, the Juggernaut feat doesn't get its own place on this list. Lifting a castle. On more than one occasion, the Hulk has lifted very massive things, which in and of itself is impressive. But in one of his self-titled comic book issues, the Hulk achieved something even more impressive while fighting one of Iron Man's enemies, the Mandarin. In this instance, the Mandarin was attempting to enslave the Hulk, and for a while he was successful. But when the device that he was using to control the Green Goliath fell off, the Hulk was angry. Very angry. And that's when the Hulk lifted a corner of the Mandarin's castle off the ground and completely toppled the massive building over, causing it to crumble into pieces. Of course, the Hulk then just proceeded to walk off into the sunrise like it was no big deal. Throwing the soul gem to a planet's core. In another Hulk comic book example, while he was on the ancient planet Kai, the Hulk got his hands on the Soul Gem, which of course is the comic book version of the Soul Stone that we all saw Thanos travel to Vormir to obtain in Avengers Infinity War. However, in regards to the Soul Gem, Hulk threw it deep below the planet's surface, which in and of itself is pretty impressive given the density of the material. But when you consider that he actually threw it through the planet, meaning from surface to core, past miles and miles of solid rock, it was even more impressive. Once there, the Soul Gem proceeded to merge with the planet's molten heart and brought peace and life to the planet. Ah, how nice. Causing global seismic activity. In one New Avengers comic, an alternative universe version of Bruce Banner ended up in the main Marvel universe. But this time he was a very different Banner from the one we typically know, primarily because he'd been given a lobotomy by his own Avengers, and for that reason he was a sociopath that was extremely dangerous. Of course, things got really interesting, like they always do when he transforms into the Hulk, and he ended up fighting against the regular Hulk. The sheer brute force exerted by their confrontation resulted in seismic activity occurring all over the world, which led Steve Rogers to make the comment that seismologists all over the planet are having a field day right now. More global seismic activity. And to prove that that wasn't just a one-off, here's another fight involving two Hulks resulting in earthquakes all over the planet. This time it was with a dark green version of Banner's Hulk fighting against the Red Hulk. The likes of Vision, who was in New York at the time, were amongst those commenting on the effects of the fight, with others noticing tremors in Chicago and off the eastern seaboard. The most powerful punch of the fight seemed to come from the Green Hulk, when he punched the red version high into the sky, with an accompanying scaraboom sound effect emphasizing just how much force there was behind that punch.
What's wrong?
The pulse rates are spiking again. They're huge.
yet more global seismic activity. Again with the seismic activity. In one Incredible Hulk comic, after the Hulk had undergone surgery to remove Bruce Banner from his body, he had to face off against 2 mutated gamma-irradiated boars that Banner had created. When he was beating down on one of the boars, barely even angry at the time, incidentally, somebody in a seismic research station commented that the readings they were getting on the equipment were like nothing they'd ever seen before, and that it was as though a series of bombs were going off in the Earth's mantle. That's a powerful beatdown.
Look like raging fire.
Powering a world-protecting machine. On one occasion, when Exitar the Exterminator was intent on destroying Earth, Dr. Doom built a device that would put a shield around the planet. However, this impressive device needed a power source, and what do you know, the Hulk was up to the task of powering it up using just his brute strength, which was great news, because this protective force was able to resist Exitar's menacing foot stomps until the shield failed due to a crack in the machinery. But to Hulk's credit, that wasn't because of him lacking in the strength department.
Big monster!
Overpowering himself? This one makes no sense at all, but it's so ridiculous that we have to include it here. On one occasion, Hulk's old enemy, the Leader, developed a device that would replicate the same amount of force exerted on it and throw it back at his opponent. In other words, if Hulk used force to attack him, he'd be repelled with the exact same amount of force. And yet the Hulk still overcame it, which basically meant that in that moment he was stronger than himself, or something.
Doesn't sound right.
It's at times like these you have to admit the Hulk's strength makes no sense. Just go with it. Punching through a time storm. Speaking of making no sense, we don't really know how to quantify this particular strength feat, but hey, it sounds damn impressive, so we just had to include it in this list. In one of his own comic books, the Hulk literally punched through a time storm. Yes, a time storm. What is a time storm, you say? Well, a time storm is something that the comic itself described as an inexplicable phenomenon that even Kang the Conqueror's time machine couldn't penetrate. Yeah, that sounds specific enough. Anyways, Hulk's punches split apart the space-time continuum enough for Kang to travel through it. And of course, why not? Not much of that makes much sense to us, but whatever. It was obviously meant to show how strong the Hulk was, and that is good enough for us. Throwing FANG FOOM to the moon. Hulk seems to absolutely love throwing things. He does it a lot, and on a number of occasions the objects he's thrown have ended up in orbit. But arguably none of his space tosses have been as impressive as this one. In the aptly titled Hulk vs. FANG FOOM comic, Hulk literally picked up the gigantic dragon and threw it straight up to the moon, telling it to just leave, calling it a stupid dragon as he did so. Lifting the sacred flame of life. In Marvel's comics, in the city of El Dorado, there existed a gigantic piece of deviant architecture and a source of potentially limitless energy called the Sacred Flame of Life. It was, and we quote, built to withstand the power of gods, but it simply could not withstand the strength of the Hulk. With strength bordering on the mythic, in one of his self-titled comics, the Hulk sank his monstrous fingers into the side of the structure's flame pit and lifted it off the ground.
I don't want your diamonds. I want this.
Affecting adamantium. You know how adamantium, the metal famously grafted to Wolverine's skeleton, is supposed to be completely unbreakable and impossible to manipulate? Well, Hulk has something to say about that. The big green guy actually pressed sections of a building made of adamantium with his bare hands, and treating it like most people would treat a wad of waste paper, fashioned it into a crude metal ball-shaped prison for the evil Bellurian villain Ballastar in a Marvel team-up comic. He proceeded to throw the ball into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, where it sank without a trace. Using MJOLNIR. On a couple of occasions in the comics, Hulk has actually used MJOLNIR, but because the circumstances are always a little hazy, we're only going to include one example here. It came in an Avengers Assemble comic, when Hulk was actually being mind-controlled by Thanos. When Thor attempted to hit the Mad Titan with MJOLNIR, Hulk was able to block and deflect the attempt, then used the hammer to whack Thor in the face with it. The fact that Thor was still holding onto it at the time does potentially make it a less impressive feat. But the fact is, Hulk blocked MJOLNIR, and indeed used it as a weapon. It's not a feat to be sniffed at. However, it went down. taking the weight of a star. This one might not look like a particularly impressive feat of strength, but it actually is. In 2013's Infinity Story arc, Corvus Glaive used his blade to hold down the Hulk under the weight of a star. Nope, we don't get how that works either. Although he was effectively held in place, Hulk maintained his position on all fours and didn't completely buckle under the weight. Although the experience also caused him to transform back into Bruce Banner, the fact that he wasn't outright killed and was able to take the weight at all is an incredible feat of strength, and indeed durability.
Nobody has to break anything.
Clearly, you've never made an omelet.
Destroying a gigantic asteroid. In a Marvel Comics Presents comic, a trio of massively powerful alien children accidentally knocked an asteroid twice the size of Earth into a collision course with our planet while they were playing a game. Using some experimental anti-magnetic jet-propelled fortified rocket springs, yeah, we have no idea what those things are either, the Hulk was sent into space to destroy it. Sure enough, the Green Goliath was able to smash that asteroid into tiny bits, allowing the Earth to continue existing in one piece for yet another day. Pushing tectonic plates back together. In one Incredible Hulk comic, after the events of Planet Hulk, the Red King used a weapon to initiate a sequence that was intended to destroy the planet Sakaar by cracking its tectonic plates. To prevent that from happening, the Hulk jumped into the planet's core and unbroke the world by pushing the planet's tectonic plates back together. The planet Sakaar is slightly smaller than Earth, but those plates would still have weighed billions of tons. So that's a massively impressive feat of strength on the part of the big green guy. Holding up a mountain. Arguably, Hulk's most impressive lifting feat came in a Secret Wars comic, and the story of it was later retold in Spider-Man and the Secret Wars. And it was absolutely monumental. When a 150 billion ton mountain was dropped on Hulk and a bunch of other heroes, the big green guy single-handedly held it up. In fact, when She-Hulk, the supposedly strongest of the other characters present, attempted to support just a fraction of the weight, she simply couldn't do it. It was said that there was 2 miles of rock above the heroes at the time, and that's undoubtedly a hell of a lot of rock.
Banner.
Welcome, strongest Avenger.
What?
Considering Hulk is one of the most powerful super beings in the entire universe, it may be hard to find stuff in common with him. What do you even talk about with Bruce? How you prefer to wash your laundry? In all of the Marvel universe, we figured that there's one guy who has more in common with Banner than anyone else. General Thaddeus Ross, aka Red Hulk. We're going to break down for you just how deep this connection runs. For those of you who love ad-free viewing and free things, we're excited to announce the Premium Network. The Premium gets you early access to videos from CBR, The Gamer, Screen Rant, and many other great channels. Thousands of videos in one place with ad-free browsing. How sweet is that? Sign up for free The Premium by clicking the link to start binge-watching videos from your favorite channels. Take a moment to subscribe to our channel. If you don't, you may make Hulk very angry. And we know what happens when he gets angry.
Guess it had a little more kick than he was looking for.
Wow.
Superhuman strength. When you hear someone say the name Hulk, what's the first thing you think of? Hulk smash. We like to imagine it being shouted out with a giant roar and then Hulk knocking over a skyscraper. Obviously, only a being with superhuman strength can knock over a building like it were filled with air. We tried once, and it didn't go nearly as well as it does for Hulk. For both the Green Hulk and the Red Hulk, strength is one of their defining features. When other superheroes like Captain America or Iron Man talk about a Hulk, they almost always are in the context of strength. When the Red Hulk was introduced in the early 2000s, fans were worried that the new version was going to be an exact replica of the Green Hulk. Those worries were quickly squashed when writers crafted variations of the superhuman strength for Red Hulk. Don't get us wrong, both Hulks exhibit off-the-chart levels of strength. Both Bruce Banner and General Thunderbolt Ross, when they're hulking out, are considered to be one of, if not the strongest beings on the planet. We've seen Hulk and Thor fight it out, like in the Avengers film. Did you know Red Hulk has actually beaten Thor? Think about that for a second. That's insanely powerful.
I got a bogey of some kind. Please advise. That is the target! Use every trank you've got. Do it now!
Superhuman durability. It should come as no surprise that Hulk has the power to deflect bullets and other projectile objects shot or thrown at him. This durability also applies to the Red Hulk. Armaments will merely bounce off their insanely resistant skin. Green and Red Hulk barely feel a pinch and keep on going. They're able to keep smashing through without getting hurt. In fact, bullets and other firearms being shot at them are little more than a nuisance to them as they're fighting. Durability for Banner and the General are very important assets. The enhanced durability of their skin doesn't deflect just bullets. Their skin is so durable thanks to the gamma radiation that fundamentally altered their DNA that they can even survive a nuclear blast. No wonder Hulk doesn't wear a shirt when he's fighting.
Maybe we've neutralized those cells permanently, or maybe we just suppressed that event. I'm inclined to think the latter, but it's hard to know because none of our test subjects ever survived. Of course, they weren't getting the primer.
What did you just say?
Gamma radiation victims. The transformation of Bruce Banner into the Incredible Hulk is one of the most well-known and popular stories in all of comic books. Bruce Banner is a brilliant scientist who's exposed to a deadly wave of gamma radiation. Rather than taking his life, it fundamentally alters his DNA and transforms him into the green-skinned Hulk. The gamma radiation that Bruce was exposed to in the detonation of the bomb is the same radiation that links him to Red Hulk. Much like Banner, General Thaddeus Ross's transformation to a red version of the monster is a result of gamma radiation. His journey to the transformation takes a different route than Banner. While Banner selflessly attempted to protect a young boy, Thaddeus Ross sought out the gamma radiation as a means for revenge. Ross has a dark obsession with Bruce, blaming Banner for all the bad things that happened in Ross's life. General Ross sought out exposure to the gamma radiation in order to combat Hulk. The radiation has created differences in the two super beings, though. For General Ross, the more radiation he's exposed to, the more powerful he can become.
Bruce, I don't understand why we can't just go in there together and talk to him.
He told me what he wanted to do. He wants it out of me. He wants to dissect it so that he can replicate it. He wants to make it a weapon.
Betty Ross. The Red Hulk and Green Hulk relationship gets a little tricky when you toss in Betty Ross. In the comic book, Bruce Banner, aka the Green Hulk, is in love with Betty Ross. Can you guess who Betty's father is? If you guessed General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, you're correct. As we established, General Ross's alter super being ego is Red Hulk and sometimes enemy of the original Hulk. Is this starting to feel like a soap opera already? The General did not approve of Bruce Banner and his daughter dating. There's a lot of tension and backstory between these two men, both as human and as Hulks. Despite Betty being in love with Bruce and accepting his marriage proposal, the General had a tough time accepting Banner into the family. It got so bad that during the actual wedding ceremony, General Ross showed up prepared to fight Banner. He did not want that wedding to take place. It can already be a challenging time when a father walks his daughter down the aisle. Now imagine how hard that is when your daughter is in love with and plans to marry your mortal enemy. Eventually, Ross relented and Bruce and Betty married. No matter what happens between these two men, their love of Betty will always be something that they have in common. Do you think Ross lets Banner call him Dad?
It was so big, it was like this huge, like Hulk.
Yeah. McGee, who happens to be a reporter for the campus paper, captured this on his cell phone.
Superhuman healing factor. On top of being able to withstand Earth's mightiest heroes and weapons, both the Green Hulk and the Red Hulk have an epic healing factor. We know that when we say healing factor, your mind shoots right to Wolverine, but both Hulks heal. Plus, even if they should get harmed in battle, that injury isn't going to be holding them back for long. Like Wolverine and Deadpool, the two Hulks also have amazing regeneration abilities. Maybe that's why Deadpool decided to launch a nuke on the Hulk, knowing he'd be able to shrug it off and heal. Hulk's regeneration abilities are seriously impressive, perhaps rivaling or surpassing those of Wolverine. Even when Banner and, through similarities, General Ross get injured in their human form, their Hulk DNA makes sure that their bodies stay alive. He's also gone down into the molten core of the Earth to move the tectonic plates around. Even then, he was virtually unharmed as his regeneration abilities were pretty much instantaneous. It's safe to say that if nukes and molten lava don't do any harm to these two in Hulk form, there isn't much out there that can really take them down.
But while a great many people see you as heroes, there are some who would prefer the word vigilantes.
Back from the dead. They say in comic books, no death lasts forever. After all, how many times has one of the X-Men died and come back to life in some form or another? No, we aren't counting alternate reality versions on this one, but we suppose we could. In the Hulk universes, it's also true of both Hulks. Bruce Banner and the Hulk have died many times, but the most recent death was at the hand of fellow Avenger teammate Hawkeye during the Civil War II series. Hawkeye shot Banner with an arrow that Bruce himself helped design to make sure that he could be put down for good. Recently, he was resurrected by the ninja clan known as the Hand. General Ross fought valiantly for his country in the military, though it's never clear if he's with the Army or Air Force, but his ultimate sacrifice wasn't for America, it was for his daughter. Ross died while protecting Betty from the mutant named Nevermind. Ross's body was hijacked by the leader and reanimated by his associate named the Soul Man. Although initially mindless, he was brought back to full mental capacity by the alien race known as the Trojans. We're glad that both made a comeback in the comic books.
Facing a potential global catastrophe.
All those I actively try to avoid.
This is the Tesseract.
Alter egos. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there's one Bruce Banner, and he's played by Mark Ruffalo. Yes, we know that technically he isn't the only Banner to be on the big screen. Thanks to the MCU, are we even allowed to count any pre-Iron Man Marvel releases anymore? There have been other film versions of the Hulk over the last few decades, but only Ruffalo's Hulk gets to be a part of the Avengers. In the non-canon films, there's a General Ross, however he does not turn into Red Hulk. In the comic book version of the Hulk, Bruce Banner is the alter ego of Green Hulk, and General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross is the alter ego of the Red Hulk. In comic books, it's important that superheroes and villains have alter egos. They need to be able to stalk their prey or go about their day without being detected. This type of protection allows them to avoid a constant barrage. However, in the case of Banner and Ross, they knew about one another from the beginning. Their alter egos both worked on a project that ultimately turned Banner into the original Hulk. Banner and Ross's lives are forever linked with one another since that event.
One of yours?
Out of this world battles. Some of the most famous storylines in Hulk's history have taken him off the planet Earth. The Hulks have been part of some very famous out-of-this-world storylines like Planet Hulk and World War Hulks. Not all of Earth's mightiest Avengers get to make it off the planet to see the rest of the universe. Banner and Ross have been able to come across some of the universe's most famous inhabitants like the Grandmaster, MODOK, Galactus, the Collector, and Silver Surfer. Hulk and Red Hulk have proven quite capable of tackling anyone that's not human quite effectively, whether they be gods or metahumans alike. Do you think this makes Red Hulk and Green Hulk the most powerful super beings in the universe considering who they've gone up against?
And Hulk. Smash.
Run in the same circles. While Hulk has his own line of comic books and is often out there battling the bad guys alone, that does not mean he can't play well with others. We know it's hard to imagine an all-green or red Goliath with no shirt on sharing his toys or playing nice. But think again. Both Red Hulk and Green Hulk have been members of superhero teams, as well as fought alongside a variety of superheroes. We should mention they have both worked with superheroes on Earth and in outer space. If not for the Hulk, we may have never had Earth's mightiest heroes band together to form the Avengers. Technically, it was thanks to Loki, but the Hulk is considered a founding member of the Avengers. Hulk has fought alongside all your favorite characters like Iron Man, Captain America, Spider-Man, and Thor. While he sometimes can get lost in a Hulk rage and need to be pulled back, he has been an effective teammate. What about the Red Hulk? Well, he's also attached to a group, a very patriotic version of the Avengers named US Avengers. This new team consisted of Cannonball, Pod, the Iron Patriot, Squirrel Girl, and Red Hulk, and their first mission has them confronting the Gold Skull. Red Hulk has also worked with Steve Rogers and the Avengers.
Thor. I saw something in that dream. I need answers. I won't find him here.
Thor's Hammer. Whosoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. Well, don't believe everything you read. Believe it or not, Red and Green Hulk are on that list, and both feats involve loopholes. Red Hulk was Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, and he used his tactical abilities to gain control of Mjolnir. Red Hulk, while fighting Thor, found himself in outer space. Red Hulk's gamble that he could gain control of Mjolnir in zero gravity paid off, and he was not only able to wrest it from Thor's grip, he was also able to knock him silly with his own weapon. But he wasn't able to repeat his sneaky grab in their rematch. Way back in Journey into Mystery number 112, Thor actually asked Odin to remove the enchantment on his hammer so he could fight the Green Hulk without any advantages. Thor goes to discard Mjolnir, but Hulk stretches out his arms and grabs the hammer from him. He's able to hold it without any problem due to the lack of enchantment.
Did I hurt anybody?
There's nobody around here to get hurt. He did scare the hell out of some pigeons, though.
Both the Incredible Hulk and his puny counterpart, Bruce Banner, have changed over the years, but some things have remained the same. What's always consistent is the Hulk's incredible strength. He has survived the most brutal injuries a comic book character has ever endured. But before we begin, click that red subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all your crime-fighting news. And don't you dare forget to click that like button, otherwise Hulk will smash. Hey, let's get started.
Match your might. To feel your life fade away, as my hands wrap around your throat.
Eaten by cockroaches. In 2002, Marvel released Hulk: The End, a one-shot written by Peter David which depicted a possible ending for Bruce Banner and his alter ego. Due to a war which ended in nuclear warfare, the Hulk is literally the only person left on the planet because he was the only one strong enough to survive. The comic is wonderfully compelling, given the fact there aren't really any other characters in the book. Remember when you were told that only Twinkies and cockroaches would survive a nuclear disaster? Let's just say this book doesn't have any cream-filled snacks, and it's quite possible Galactus ate all of them. Every so often, flying mutant cockroaches swarm down upon the Hulk and literally devour him. Fortunately and unfortunately, thanks to all the radiation Hulk has been absorbing, he can pretty much grow himself back from nothingness. But it's gotta hurt, and he's gotta be tired of doing so day in and day out. Even crazier is when Banner awakens and he finds a video recording of himself made by an alien camera. Banner watches himself being eaten alive by the roaches. Well, guess this is just what happens when the strongest there is just means the last thing to eat. Black Bolt's Scream. Black Bolt is the leader of an offshoot of humanity called the Inhumans. Black Bolt lives on the moon, and the Inhumans have some very weird powers. Black Bolt's wife Medusa, who by the way is also his cousin, hey, we aren't gonna judge. Anyways, his wife Medusa has the ability to control the movement on her prehensile hair. Their pet, Lockjaw, is a giant teleporting dog who used to be a man. It's all just a little bit complicated, and too much to get into here. Black Bolt has the ability to emit a ridiculously powerful sonic scream. And don't even think about the Banshee and Angar, the Screamer, they have nothing on him. When Black Bolt merely whispers, he can cause earthquakes, and if Black Bolt wants to, he can shatter entire planets with just a word. So when the Hulk charged after Black Bolt has no choice but to hit him with his sonic scream, and it was at point blank range. Everything around the Hulk was destroyed and the Hulk was knocked out, but the Hulk came back quickly and he was literally asking for more from the Black Bolt.
Is that all you got?
Punched into outer space. In The Amazing Spider-Man number 328, Peter Parker was going through a series of changes. For reasons he would learn later, he was becoming more and more powerful. He was getting much stronger and his strength went way beyond Class 100. Spider-Man eventually developed the ability to fly and was even capable of firing energy beams from his hands and eyes. So needless to say, the Hulk's timing sparring off with Spider-Man couldn't have been any worse. Would Hulk have fought Spider-Man knowing that Spidey was the current host of Captain Universe? Arguably no. But the Hulk did fight him, and while the two fought, the Hulk understandably found himself on the losing end of the battle. The battle was epic between the two and climaxed with Spider-Man punching Hulk into outer space. Although the Hulk had survived the punch, he had a much bigger problem. Since the Grey Hulk transformed at night, if he were to remain in space, he would transform back into Banner once the sun rose. So what's wrong with that, you say? It's space and there's no oxygen. Banner would suffocate to death almost immediately. Fortunately, Spider-Man is a big softy and flew into space to bring Hulk back down to Earth before that happened.
Now might be a really good time for you to get angry.
That's my secret, Captain. I'm always angry.
Shot in the head. Who Shot the Hulk was a storyline which launched Volume 3 of Hulk number 1, and technically, it is Bruce Banner who is shot in the head. The woman who shot Banner in the head is a brilliant marksman because she was able to shoot Banner in the head and neither kill him nor trigger the Hulk transformation. Jeez, what a shot. They must have borrowed Deadshot from DC. It picks up from the end of the Indestructible Hulk number 20, where for a brief period, the Hulk became an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Banner is oddly rescued from the people who shot him. Also, Bruce Banner's doctor who tries to save him is coincidentally Dr. Aaron Carpenter, a person he went to college with. It appears the doctor was taken by S.H.I.E.L.D. During the procedure, weird things happen, like the Hulk's tissue is taken, and the doctor tries to stop it. Weirdly, there is also a woman who the Hulk saved as a child during the battle with Zax. The Hulk eventually escapes, but suffers from intense headaches when he becomes Banner. The Hulk eventually escapes, but suffers from intense headaches, and when he becomes Banner, he's a simpleton. The brain damage is so profound that it takes a modified injection of Extremis by Tony Stark to heal the injuries.
Because I'm the best there is at what I do. What I do best isn't very nice.
You're not an animal, Logan. What you have is a gift.
Gutted by Wolverine. One of the greatest comic book rivalries has to be between Hulk and Wolverine. It pits the sheer brute strength of the Hulk against the animalistic savagery of Logan. Logan made his first full appearance in the pages of The Incredible Hulk in issue 181. Their rivalry is a sight to see. You need to see and read all the graphic novels with Hulk and Logan going at it. Wolverine's adamantium claws are insanely sharp enough and fiercely strong enough to rip through the Hulk's skin. In What If number 31, Wolverine kills Hulk by repeated attacks to Hulk's throat. And yes, this This is when the Hulk was the stronger green incarnation. In The Incredible Hulk issue 340, the Grey Hulk faces off against Wolverine. Logan takes full advantage of the Hulk's lower powered status and slices and dices through the Hulk something fierce. Logan's attacks are utterly brutal and he eventually takes out the Hulk. However, although the Grey version is weaker, the Hulk gets angrier faster. This is what luckily saves him because the Hulk is able to heal with such speed. Had it not been for that, the Hulk would have definitely been a goner.
Puny God.
Frozen in ice block. Throughout the years, the X-Men have definitely had a lot of very powerful members on their roster, such as Cyclops, who was a savvy tactician and had an intense optic blast. There's also Colossus, who was incredibly strong and ridiculously resilient due to his metallic skin. And then there's Iceman, who by his own admission never really lived up to his potential. At one point in stories, Iceman had a lot of problems controlling his own powers. Eventually, he would wear a belt that offered him the command he needed to take control. But before Iceman ever had the belt, the X-Factor fought in The Incredible Hulk issue number 336. In this issue, the X-Factor goes after the Hulk because he runs from them when he confuses Bobby Drake's X-Factor jumpsuit for a SHIELD uniform. They attack Hulk and Hulk attacks back full force. To prevent Cyclops from being injured, he uses his powers against the Hulk with unexpected results. The Hulk was frozen in a giant block of ice, so immense and cold that even the Hulk couldn't escape from it. Iceman himself was surprised that he could stop the Hulk.
I just want some peace and quiet. You have no idea what it's like inside the Hulk's head.
Mental trauma of mom dying. The Incredible Hulk number 312 was a crossover with the limited series Secret Wars 2. Although it's an extension of the larger series involving the Beyonder, there was also some very key moments in the comic by writer Bill Mantlo that would impact future writers for decades. The issue examines the Hulk's painful childhood and makes the claim that the monster was always inside of him but took a gamma bomb to release it. Bruce Banner as a child unfortunately has to witness the abuse and eventual death of his mother at the hands of his father. These memories not only haunt Bruce and the Hulk, but also have been weaponized and used against him. In The Incredible Hulk number 403, Mentalo is able to use the Hulk's childhood trauma as a means of brainwashing him. Right before Mentalo brainwashes him, the Red Skull revealed his intentions on Mentalo brainwashing him, but the Hulk laughed this off as inconceivable. Who knew the strongest mortal on Earth could be that vulnerable? The Hulk then finds himself in a deserted city surrounded by supervillains who suddenly attack him, but this is all just an illusion created by Mentalo. However, the Hulk is able to fight off his enemies, even though he is in an epic mental battle with Mentalo.
You've lost! Do you hear me? You're nothing! You're wrong. I'm an Avenger.
Snapped his own neck. In 1992, the limited series edition Incredible Hulk Future Imperfect was released to great fanfare. In it, the Hulk was brought to a nightmarish future by Rick Jones to combat Maestro. In this distant future of planet Earth, which is set 90 years forward, it's been turned into a nuclear wasteland. Almost all of what is left of humanity lives in a city called Dystopia, which is ruled by none other than the Maestro. After some deduction, the Hulk realizes that the Maestro is but a future version of himself. The Maestro is bald, has a thick beard, and is much stronger than the Hulk brought from the past. In this alternate timeline, Wasteland was created by a devastating nuclear war on Earth, and the Hulk and the Maestro absorb the radiation like sponges. During their battle, the Hulk tries to help some innocent bystanders who are almost killed by a falling building. The Maestro seizes on this and takes advantage of the situation and sneaks up behind the Hulk and snaps his neck. It doesn't kill the Hulk and instead puts him out of commission for a while. The attack completely paralyzed him from the neck down.
They are not your enemies, Banner. Try to think!
Turned into a stone statue. In 1989, Marvel had an ingenious crossover called Acts of Vengeance. This was a comic book in which supervillains borrowed a page from Alfred Hitchcock's 1951 film entitled Strangers on a Train. In it, the villains organized attacks on each other's arch enemies. The villains were banking on the fact that the hero would not be prepared to face unfamiliar foes. In this Hulk comic, Marvel wrote in Thor's archenemy Paul-Pierre Duval, also known as the Grey Gargoyle, to take down the Hulk. The Grey Gargoyle has the ability to turn you to stone if he touches you with his right hand. Now, Gargoyle is no dummy. He knows if he were to face off with the Hulk, it might not end well for himself. So instead of fighting the Hulk, he finds Bruce Banner and turns him into stone. Battle won, right? At this point in the Hulk's comic book existence, he was gray, not green. He also transformed when the sun went down, not when Bruce was angry. When the sun set, Grey Gargoyle was shocked to find the rock statue of Banner transformed into a rock statue of Hulk. The Hulk eventually was able to break through the statue and defeat Gargoyle.
Calling you an Avenger is like saying my beau is a member of the team. And two, Cap's right. You've got to stay here.
You're making it very difficult to not turn into the Hulk and tear you apart.
Survived gamma bomb explosion. So far, we've run through a list of insanely brutal injuries the Hulk has taken on. From being eaten alive by cockroaches, being shot in the head, to being gutted by Wolverine, and even having his neck snapped. What could possibly be worse than all that? Well, could the most brutal injury that the Hulk survived be the very one that caused his own creation? It was writer Bill Mantlo that proposed that the Hulk was inside Bruce Banner all along, and it took the gamma bomb detonation to release him. It is Bruce Banner who is actually the real Hulk, a virtual pressure cooker filled with rage towards his abusive father and towards the unfair hand the world has dealt him. Was the gamma bomb the injury that broke the camel's back, so to speak? Was it the gamma bomb that served as the final straw for Bruce Banner before he released his incredible anger upon the world? By surviving the gamma bomb explosion, Hulk showed the world who the strongest mortal on Earth really was, and that person is Bruce Banner. So in the end, all you have to do is look back to what started all of this to find the most brutal injury the Hulk has ever survived. Thor and Hulk couldn't appear to be more different from one another. One guy's a green behemoth who can pick up buildings and smash mountains. The other is a golden-haired god who protects Earth and Asgard. However, beneath the surface, these two superheroes have a lot more in common than you think. Why not slide on over to the subscribe button for the CBR channel? One click on the red button means videos delivered to your inbox daily. How's that for service?
Come, Hulk. There are many arenas for glorious battle in Asgard. We shall lay claim to who is the strongest once and for all. Lead the way.
Both have Class 100 strength. From a purely superficial perspective, Thor and the Incredible Hulk look as if they could not possibly match each other in strength. Thor weighs in at approximately 640 pounds, which is carried around on his 6'6" frame. Don't get us wrong, compared to other Avengers, both past and present, Thor's not your average size superhero. We would be intimidated to be standing next to him. When you compare him with Banner when he's in his Hulk state, he's double Thor's weight at minimum. This doesn't consider when Hulk gets all raged up and bigger in mass. Despite this, Thor and Hulk are strong. Thor's physical strength is recorded at Class 100. Hulk is also verified at that level. You may be asking, what does that mean? Being a Class 100 superhero is a rare achievement. It means you can lift 100 tons or more over your head. In Journey into Mystery number 119, Thor once destroyed an arch weighing over 1 million tons. In Marvel's Fact Files, Hulk was named the strongest superhero in the universe.
Hulk strongest!
These two inhabit a rare stratum of power. Some superheroes are strong, but not as strong as Hulk and the God of Thunder.
You're big. Fought bigger.
Increased stamina and durability. In addition to Thor and Hulk having enormous strength capacity, they also share a variety of abilities that not many others in the universe do. When these two are standing next to each other, poised to take on an opponent, you know it isn't going to be a fair fight, at least not for the other guy. Especially since Odin's son and the Incredible Hulk have unrelenting stamina. Thor is biologically a half Asgardian and half Elder God. This combination gives Thor the possession of superhuman attributes. Thor's skin, muscle, and regenerative qualities are extremely developed. Therefore, he has near invulnerability and durability. He can withstand extreme energy blasts, explosions, and hand-to-hand combat blows. He might get pushed back a little, but he can get right back up and fight again. Also, Thor has these qualities regardless of what realm he is in. It pays off to have the God Force on your side. The gamma radiation Banner was exposed to fundamentally altered his DNA. As a result, Hulk can exert himself at peak physical capacity for extended periods of time, just like Thor. As Hulk continues to fight, his stamina and durability also increase. It can get to be so great that Hulk can successfully stalemate Thor's warrior madness.
What have I to fear? The Avengers. That's what we call ourselves. Sort of like a team. Earth's mightiest heroes type thing.
Founding members of the Avengers. Marvel's #1 superhero squad, the Avengers, sworn to protect this planet and its inhabitants from any threat that may arise.
Because if we can't protect the Earth, you can be damn well sure we'll avenge it.
Did you know when the group was formed, Thor and Hulk were founding members? That's right. They got in during the infant stages of the Avengers, helping to guide and support the team as it evolved and found its footing in the universe. In fact, Thor and the Incredible Hulk are pivotal characters in the formation of the superhero team. Thor's brother Loki was seeking revenge.
That guy's brain is a bag full of cats. You could smell crazy on him.
Have care how you speak. Loki is beyond reason, but he is of Asgard, and he is my brother.
He killed 80 people in 2 days.
He's adopted.
Using both Hulk and Odin's son as pawns, the two had to sneak help from other founding members to defeat Loki. If not for Thor and the Hulk, there may never have been an Avengers team.
Thor, report on the Hulk.
The gates of hell are filled with the screams of his victims. But not the screams of the dead, of course. No.
Have Doctor alter egos. Before the events of Civil War and the Superhero Registration Act, superheroes had alter egos. The ability to fade back into the alias persona allowed superheroes several advantages. It gave them a respite from having to be a superhero every moment of their lives.
Sir, the telephone.
Mr. Stark, we need to talk.
You have reached the life model decoy of Tony Stark. Please leave a message.
It also kept them and their personal loved ones safe. The alter ego also allows for the ability to perform some actions in secret. If Hulk is trying to stealthily gather information on a foe, it may be hard to do so without getting caught. It isn't easy for Hulk to hide himself around the corner while watching what happens. Both Thor and Hulk have their alter egos in common. They both had personas that were doctors. Thor was once Dr. Donald Blake.
His name is Donald Blake?
Dr. Donald Blake.
In his human form, Hulk was Dr. Bruce Banner. As Blake, Thor began as a Harvard medical student. He successfully completed school and went on to become a physician. Banner studied nuclear physics in college and is an expert in biology. He also went to Harvard for a brief period.
Thor, your hammer. Throw it there. Hulk, gravity slingshot.
Hate this plan!
Outer space. Hulk and Thor came from two different worlds. Thor's homeland is Asgard and Hulk lives on Earth. Regardless of their different birthplaces, both superheroes have spent a lot of time out in the galaxy. Being a member of an extra-dimensional race of beings means Thor has access to many different worlds. Thor has use of Asgard's famous Bifrost Bridge, a magic rainbow bridge. It links the 9 realms of the Norse cosmos together. Because of easy access to this method of transportation, Thor regularly encounters alien life forms. In addition to this, Thor has traveled across the universe on journeys to uncharted planets and solar systems. For Hulk, his experience with other planets and aliens was due to the Illuminati's decision to banish him from Earth. While on the shuttle, it accidentally encounters a wormhole. The Illuminati intended for Hulk to end up on an unpopulated planet. Instead, he ends up on the planet Sakaar. There, he's forced to fight in the gladiator battles for the planet's emperor, the Red King. Hulk eventually makes it back to Earth, but too much has changed for him. Both of these superheroes have experienced very different things in their outer space adventures.
You two lay one heinous finger on my cousin Brucey, and you'll have to answer to the She-Hulk.
You said She-Hulk. We related?
Cousins.
Have female counterparts. Although a superhero may be invulnerable, have near limitless power, or be capable of amazing feats, that doesn't mean they're safe. You can be as durable as Hulk's skin, but that doesn't mean you can escape destiny or fate. One minute you can be flying around Asgard and defending against your brother Loki, and the next minute you may find yourself unworthy. No character is truly untouchable from finding their powers taken, or suddenly finding out that you aren't the only one of your kind anymore. In the case of Hulk and Thor, both characters have found themselves with female counterparts in the Marvel Universe. Medical conditions brought both women into their roles. Hulk's female counterpart in the universe is She-Hulk. Bruce Banner's cousin, Jennifer Walter, needed a life-saving blood transfusion. Banner helped save his cousin's life by giving blood, and it turns out he gave her more than blood.
I'm feeling good. Feels like somebody's lighting my fire.
He passed on his genetically altered DNA and turned Jennifer into She-Hulk. Thor's counterpart is Jane Foster. After being diagnosed with cancer, she refused any magical treatments from Thor. During this time, Thor lost the ability to wield MJOLNIR. Jane went to the moon and picked it up, as it seemed she was worthy of the hammer. The transformation into Thor also helped heal her disease.
I'd sit this one out, Cap.
I don't see how I can.
These guys come from legend. They're basically gods.
There's only one god, ma'am. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
Fought gods. It's true that Thor is a god. His father is, after all, Odin. Hulk, on the other hand, does not come from such a distinctive family lineage. Setting the family tree aside, both the Incredible Hulk and Thor have fought gods on their own. In the Marvel Comics, Thor has fought Zeus and Hulk has gone up against Hercules. Thor has a history with Zeus thanks to his father Odin. Odin and Zeus often had conflicts between the Asgardians and the Olympians, but on occasion had to work together for the greater good. During his time with the Avengers, Thor went toe-to-toe with Zeus. In Hulk vs. Hercules, the Green Giant went up against the god Hercules. Hulk may be considered the most powerful being ever, but he isn't a god.
Puny god.
The two are pretty evenly matched. Perhaps it was a thirst for vengeance after returning from exile, and all that pent-up rage that helped Hulk beat the god.
You alright?
Hammer? Hammer?
Yeah, we can tell you're hammered. It's pretty obvious.
Both have enchanted Asgardian weapons. We all know that Thor wields some of the most powerful Asgardian weapons of all time. MJOLNIR is only used by a being who is worthy of its spectacular powers. Did you know the name MJOLNIR translates to mean that which smashes? When you see Thor come flying at you hammer first, you better start running. With Mjolnir in hand, the user has a variety of profound abilities literally at their fingertips. The hammer can manipulate elements of a storm. It can project prolific blasts of mystical energy. If you need to go on the defensive, Mjolnir can aid in the creation of defensive barriers. Did you also know that the Hulk has used Asgardian weapons during his battles across the universe? It may come as a surprise because Hulk is so powerful, why would he need any weapons at all? During the Fear Itself crossover, Thor was one of the 7 superheroes worthy of wielding the Uru hammers, which were like Mjolnir. Thor's hammer was known as Null, Breaker of Worlds. When Banner held the hammer, it turned him into Null. One of the abilities Thor obtained was flight. If you thought Thor flying is intimidating, a big green Hulk soaring through the skies is downright terrifying.
I now take from you your power. I own it all, Father. Cut you out!
Both had their powers taken away. As quickly as one can gain something, it can be taken away. In the Marvel Universe, no superhero is safe from that possibility. It changes their lives drastically. Imagine going from the most powerful being in the known universe to living every day as your normal Dr. Self. Throughout their time in Marvel, the Avengers have lost their powers. It's not easy on either of them. During the original Sin storyline, Nick Fury whispered something in Thor's ear. This secret conversation caused Thor to become unworthy of wielding Mjolnir. What did Fury say to Thor that made him lose his Odin son powers? Fury told Thor that Gore the God Butcher was right about gods being selfish and not caring about humans. Thor lost his confidence and subsequently his powers. Bruce Banner has been separated from Hulk on several occasions. Over time, Banner's mind and personality is separated from that of the Hulk. It essentially creates 2 independent entities, Hulk and Banner. One of the most well-known instances is around the World War Hulk storyline. Banner was in custody until Red Hulk came in to break him out in Incredible Hulk number 600. Red Hulk siphoned Hulk's gamma radiation. Banner was Hulk-free for a year after that.
I am truly sorry for what we've had to do. We had no choice. When you get angry, Bruce, you are a force of destruction.
Both victims of the Illuminati. There are so many secrets flying around the Marvel Universe, it can be hard to keep track of them all.
Captain, he's the spy. His secrets have secrets.
One of the biggest secrets in the universe was in the form of the Illuminati group. Their first appearance was in New Avengers number 7. Since then, they make significant impacts on the universe with their secret dealings. 2 Avengers who've been the victims of the Illuminati schemes are Thor and Hulk. The Illuminati got together and decided to banish the Incredible Hulk from Earth. They were concerned after he destroyed Las Vegas. Sounds justified. Iron Man suggested shooting Hulk into space and leaving him on an uninhabited planet. There he would live out the rest of his life and hurt no one else. It was a tough decision, but they went through with it. Ultimately, it changed Banner's life forever. When Thor went missing, the group decided they needed to clone Thor. Is it creepy that Tony had been keeping one of Thor's golden hairs since the first meeting of the Avengers? We think it's a little weird. Anyway, the result was a cyborg clone that killed Goliath during Civil War. The clone never really went away, being used in several more instances. When Thor finally returned, he was not happy about what they'd done.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's going around. Come on, use your words, buddy.
I have more than enough words to describe you, Stark.
Thor.
Well, there you have it, Thor and Hulk. They have so much in common, it's like they're brothers from different mothers, don't you think? Let us know in the comments below which is your favorite. While you're here, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and check out more awesome videos from our playlist. And if you liked our video, don't forget to give it a big old thumbs up. As always, thanks for watching.